Hello, everyone, and welcome to Off the Cuff episode 3. I'm your host, Eman, and today with me I have fellow, analyst. I don't know if I would call myself an analyst, but I would call Raiyan an analyst. Journalist. Again, I don't know if I would call myself a journalist. I don't know if I would call Raiyan a journalist either. Okay, let's just say Raiyan's a friend of mine. He's also GRC's men's cricket expert. And you might have heard of him. I don't know. He posts these obscure stats and things all the time, and he writes these amazing articles. And today I'm going to talk to Raiyan about something that's kind of been in the air for the last few months on cricket Twitter. It is captaincy. We're specifically going to be talking about captaincy in the context of Pakistan cricket, everything that's happened since kind of Babar stepped down, and just the importance of captaincy across different formats. So, first of all, thank you, Ryan, for joining me today. How are you doing?
Uh, Terrible as usual, but sure.
Okay, that sounds promising. Hopefully, this conversation will cheer you up. I don't know, not numb your brain. I don't know, but let's get started. Okay, so I mean, the Australia tour just ended, right? We can talk about the importance of captaincy in Test cricket, but I want to talk about Shan Masood. When Babar stepped down and kind of gave up that Test captaincy, um, Shan Masood was appointed. I don't know. It was kind of in a hurry, but allegedly, according to the PCB, they weren't planning on losing Babar. There were rumors, of course, of Sarfaraz taking over. You know, Sarfaraz has like a lot of experience behind him, and said Sean got it. Now, Sean, people were like, well, he's done county cricket my captaincy, and then he's just a really smart guy, and he's well spoken. And then he started doing these press conferences, and everyone was just like wowed by his elegance and how like also his elegance. I think because I feel like everyone was a little bit in love with him at that point, and it was a little bit weird. But it was like nice guy, you know. And then he did these like umbrella fields, and he was like channeling a bit of Ben Stokes with the way he got Steve Smith out, and I feel like people in Pakistan also react to captaincy when they see the outcome of it. I feel like when they saw that funky little field, if it had been someone else, maybe it wouldn't have been like so ooh and eyeing over it. The fact that it worked, the fact that Smith fell for that really like dumb trap, but still a trap, made it like massive and a big deal. And I think he did in the first test as well. I think it was Mir Hamza the position at a specific point, and we got a wicket out of it. It was a really good catch, and so on and so forth. So tell me about your take on Sean Masood's captaincy. Is he a good captain? How important is it if he's a good captain? And yeah, just about that.
So I think Shan is a good captain. I don't think so. There's much like he didn't make a lot of basic blunders that some captains do make. His only big, most glaring mistake probably was not bowling Jamal in that
Yep.
soon enough in that fourth innings in Sydney. Apart from that, you couldn't really complain
Yep.
about how he set the field or how he rotated his bowling options in general, which is like the extent to what a captain can do on the
Mm-hmm.
field. Like he can bowl at this bowler first or that bowler first, or he can just give the fielder this way or that way. So
Mm-hmm.
there's not much to do on field captaincy wise. Like there have been studies and everybody who's analyzed like anybody who seemed to be a statistically like good captain versus statistically bad captain, and there's barely much difference in
Mm-hmm.
the results produced by both. So it's like people really try to attach a lot of importance to captaincy because captaincy is one of those like intangibles that you can't exactly measure up to. It's similar to saying that like fielding cost us the game or this single drop catch cost us the game because it's much easier to blame it on a certain way and process that that decision was reached as opposed to like base numbers. Okay, this guy didn't score runs and this guy did, and this guy went for more runs and this guy did not. So when you look at cricket from purely batting and bowling perspectives, it's much easier to analyze and see who fell short and who didn't. But when you start looking at intangibles like captaincy and fielding, because there's no actual way to measure fielding, and similarly, there's no actual way to measure captaincy.
Mm-hmm.
Captaincy is very objective, and when there's something like as objective as captaincy. Like captaincy is basically doing something that most humans would do. It's it's not exactly a hard and fast rule either way. It's just that okay, maybe the majority would have done it this way and you've done it the other way. But there are people in the world who would have done it the way you do it. I don't know whether this is making complete sense, but it's basically about probability. Like
Yeah.
I could digress. Anyway, so in the end, like, is captaincy important? It's not as important as everybody would have you believe, because purely matches are won by better players. Whoever scores more runs, whoever takes more wickets, that's who wins.
Yeah.
That's the end of the story. And I don't think so. Anybody can argue that Australia are a better team than Pakistan, especially in Australia.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter that we had freaking Shan Masood, and Australia could have been captained by Tim Payne, which they were last time, 2019. We lost was their time, and Tim Payne is widely regarded as a bad captain. It
Also,
doesn't matter. Yeah,
yeah, but people don't think Pat Cummins is a good captain, okay? Everyone was like, Pat Cummins is a terrible captain a few months ago. I
yeah,
remember,
no,
I didn't forget.
yeah. So yeah, captaincy is just defined by success.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to say that captaincy actively influences results.
Yeah.
That being said, you can call people good captains and bad captains,
Mm.
similarly as you can call people good fielders and bad
Yeah.
fielders. It's just that it doesn't really, like, there is a degree. I'm not saying that there's no difference between a
Yeah.
good captain and a bad captain, but the influence they have on a game is not equal to anything that a batsman or good
Yeah.
batsman versus a bad batsman, or a bad bowler versus a good bowler.
Yeah.
There's like no degree of influence
Yeah.
that you could say defines games
Yeah.
like captaincy and fielding. They don't
Yeah.
define games. I'm sorry, it's always catches with matches and whatever, but no, no, they don't
Yeah.
define games. Batsmen and bowlers define games. That's why they're actually recorded and
Yeah.
selected and etc. So that's that's captaincy.
I
So
will say
that's my
though,
yeah.
yeah, I will say though, I like the, I mean, I know some people might think we're being really reductionist here, and I will say for those people that I do fall into that kind of romantic idea of a captain leading from the front. I'm thinking of Nidadar in the New Zealand series that just happened. The series was on the line. She was injured pretty badly while batting. She delivered 4 overs on like literally one leg. She couldn't run when she was batting. She couldn't field. She was still fielding. I think it was at point. It was ridiculous, and I was mad at her. I was like, "You do age is not on your side. You do not have to do this." But she was doing it, and she delivered a really good spell. I didn't understand why New Zealand wasn't attacking her more. She was actually bowling on one leg. But like, such is the aura of Nita Dar. Like, these are intangibles that we're speaking of, right? It doesn't make sense, and it's not like logical, but I was like, she deserves that win. Like, I think it was Fatima who got player of the match for an amazing, amazing spell. But Nidadar was a big factor in my head because the just the romantic idea of her leading from the front, and kind of like taking the game away. And I feel like some people were attributing Sean to that. We didn't win. We didn't win anything. Everyone knows that. But people were attributing Sean to his batting style as leading from the front. And by the way, he was getting out like 30. And it was a little bit, and someone, I think few people after the series were like, that was a really good series for him. I'm like, his average is the same. I mean, did it go up like 1 run? Like, is it 29 now? I don't know. The point is, right? I get that. I get falling into these narratives. But sometimes you kind of have to step away from that and then kind of just see if it really, really matters that much. I think we all consume it as humans, cricket. I don't think we should be robots all the time. But for the sake of objective analysis, sometimes we need to be a little bit realistic. But yeah, I want to talk about, I guess it's in connection to this, Shaheen and Rizwan being appointed
Uh,
captain.
Speaking of Shan,
Oh yeah.
as far as like his series goes,
Yeah.
uh, see, the basically the reason he was made captain was because when you start looking down our batting lineup, it was Imam, he's not gonna survive the series. Abdullah, it's too early. Shan, okay, he's one. Babar, we're removing him as captain. Five, Saud, he just came here. Six, we actually don't know what is Rizwan or Safraz. Aga, sure, I'm bored on board, but nobody else is. Uh, Shaheen, well, and eight, we have no idea actually who we're going to play at eight, but turns out it was Jamal. Nine is Shaheen. 10, well, would have been Naseem, but again, we have no idea who we're going to play. 11 is going to be Abrar, and then he didn't play the entire series. So when you start listing down the options, they're not exactly options, they're just like pick your poison.
Yeah.
So especially when they did think that Rizwan was actually going to start in the series, then Shan is left as the odd one out, which is crazy. That a guy averaging 29 after 30 test matches is your next best option as captain after you
Mm.
sack your current one.
Yeah.
But it's such as Pakistan cricket.
Yeah.
And Shan, as for its what is what, he had a good series, not good series, but it was a decent series. Like
Decent. You're right.
uh,
Yeah.
so Shan had more impact with the bat than he did with captaincy because, as I
Mm-hmm.
said before, and his batting contributions were good in the sense that if there was any other batter in Pakistan who was batting at number three, they probably wouldn't have been able to deliver even that 30 average because that is something that's unique to Shah, that he has that ability to play a higher pace on more bouncier tracks. He showed that in South Africa
Yeah.
2018. He showed that in Australia 2019. And now he showed it again that he has that unique ability that not many Pakistani batsmen do have. And
Mm-hmm.
that is unique to Shah and good on him for doing well. But obviously, you want more. And now that, since we're gonna go with the whole old school knowledge of the captain is supposed to lead from the front, then like you can't just leave it after 50,
Yeah.
especially when you've got set. But that's another story for a different time. But all in all, I think Bazit summed it up perfectly for Shan. He was like, Shan should know, and he probably does know because Shan isn't stupid, that he's very lucky to play for Pakistan for so many tests after the amount of times he's thrown it away.
Yeah.
And Shan knows that, Bazid knows that, Shan knows that. He's told Shan that directly, apparently, a few times.
Nice.
So it's there. We just hope that, like, now because we're going to stick with Shan, and uh, for what's worth, he's not done anything
Yeah.
so far to say that we shouldn't stick with him. So might as well. As
Yeah.
I've listed the captaincy options before, Aga is next in line. So you know, uh,
I wouldn't be surprised, but but I don't
nah,
think they expected
that's
Aga
just.
to go. But listen, this is an Australia review. We
Yeah,
shouldn't we should.
I'm not being serious, by the way, guys. Okay.
Yeah, no, look, one thing you should know about Ryan and me and a couple of our other friends, we're very, very big Aga fans, like delusional level Aga fans. But anyways, let's talk about Shaheen and Rizwan. So my take on this was it's not that big a deal that Shaheen's T20 captain, that Rizwan is vice captain. Switch them around, I don't care. It's the same thing as what we had before because everyone knew, everyone who paid attention knew there were four leaders in the team. Okay, across formats, basically, just remove Shadab when it gets to tests. You've got Babar, you've got Rizwan, you've got Shadab, you've got Shaheen. Two of them are gone and two of them are in. It's the same thing. And they're all four of them have been in the team. All four of them are gonna stay in the team. Poor Shadab is the one that got dropped, but whatever, he's back, right? So I don't get the melodrama with like this guy backstabbed who and this guy did that, and some people were like, this is gonna be completely different. They're gonna be ultra aggressive. Now I like narratives, like I said, I don't mind them, but let's not fool ourselves. there's no ultra aggressive approach. I don't foresee it happening. Shaheen is brings his jazba, brings his kind of like will to win, if you want to be all dramatic, and he's the kind of guy that in the PSL final, will send himself up and before we send and then smack a few and then win the final. Like he's that guy, right? And Rizwan is that guy. Like it's easy to romanticize these two because they have that kind of dog, or people think they do, that people talk about, right? But do you think, in terms of captaincy, in terms of approach, there will be a massive difference? I'm not unhappy about it. I just don't think it's going to be very different.
Yes, so you summed it up perfectly that there were always four team leaders, and now that they're two and they two have gone to here. So on the surface, there's nothing like if you had made them directly captain without like the outside influences uh, saying stuff basically, there wouldn't have been much difference. So even if you do see a change, like for example, they're apparently going to open with Sign the series, and then one of Barbara and Rizwan is going to be opening with him, and one's going to be a tree. So again, that's not a decision that was made by within the leadership group. As the leadership group sees it, and they've made this clear multiple times that they think Babar and Rizwan are the best opening pair in the world. So that's their opinion, and they've always stuck with that opinion. They
Yeah.
may be trying to change that opinion, but if they do change that opinion, that's the entire group changing their opinion, because they're not as such disagreeing amongst themselves. And this decision to open with Sime is not a decision that they themselves are making. Because of that, they're making this decision, or they're being made to make this decision because of people from the outside telling them that whatever you're doing right now isn't working, so let's try something else. But again, that's not like, you can't credit that decision to Shaheen or Rizwan
Yeah.
becoming captain or vice captain. That's somebody else's decision entirely.
Yeah.
Similarly, whichever decisions that you probably will see that are like different from the prior administration, let's say, will be decisions that have been made by people on the outside, and a majority of how they play their games and how they approach their games will remain entirely the same, because they're the same people running the team as they were before.
Yeah.
So if you think that they're suddenly going to start attacking in the middle overs, they're not going to do that. But maybe somebody will be injected, wink wink, Azam Khan, who
Yeah.
could do that. But they didn't want Azam there. Azam is there
Yeah.
because they've been made to play, basically.
Yeah.
And Azam being there or not being there, that's a whole other conversation for another day. But the thing is that they weren't the ones to make this decision. This
Yeah.
decision was made for them, so you can't really credit them if it comes up, or criticize them if it doesn't,
Yeah.
because that wasn't their decision to begin with. As for
Yeah.
what they would help with captaincy, I mean, vice captaincy I've basically discredited captaincy this entire video. So vice captaincy is basically just
Yeah.
placeholding. So as such, I don't think so much will change because of Shaheen and Rizwan becoming captain, vice captain, whatever. It may more things may change because of the World Cup debacle, because of the Asia Cup debacle, and one of those things changing was the captaincy and vice captaincy. But like, as you can see, there are two events. So the Asia Cup and World Cup debacle has resulted in Shaheen and Rizwan becoming captain, but it's also resulted in Sam becoming opener. But you see, there's two things. They're two different things,
Yeah.
all stemming from Asia and World Cup
Yeah.
debacle. As such, there's no triangle or link between Shaheen and Rizwan becoming captain, vice
Yeah.
captain, or the other decisions made in the T20 team.
No, I
Those
can.
are just
Yeah.
different aftermaths of a single thing that was the World Cup in Asia Cup debacle.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
No.
how I see it exactly. But
Mhm.
obviously, people can disagree and say that no, Shaheen fought for Azam, and Shaheen said, "Oh, Azam to khelega hi khelega." But
I mean,
it
if
would be
Shaheen,
unlikely. So,
yeah, if Shaheen fought for Azam, then you can say, well, why didn't Shaheen fight for Muhammad Haris?
well, we.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. No, it genuinely, it's like the only thing that's changed, and people will disagree 100%. The only thing that's changed or been caused by this captaincy change is the people who are happy on Twitter. Okay, one group is unhappy, one group is happy. That's the only thing that changes every single time this captaincy change is happening. Um, I will say though, do you think, really quickly, that T20 captains, like in T20s, captaincy is more important than in tests? I know the answer to this, but I want to hear it.
Yeah, I think so. Like in T20s, captaincy is more important because those split section, again, the influency captaincy barely changes the game's prerequisite, blah, 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 blah. But in T20s, captaincy is more important than test because in test, eventually you're going to ball your best bowler, and your best bowler is going to take all the wickets. Eventually, the guy is going to get out because the bowler is so good. Your funky field isn't going to be the reason he gets out.
Yep.
But in T20s, if you mess up one over, it's very likely to lose a game. It's just the way T20s are. So, yes, captaincy does help. Okay, all in all, I feel I've described captaincy so much this video, so just a disclaimer that when I talk about captaincy, I mean on-field captaincy. What a captain can do on the field, like how he can influence the game once the game starts to till the game's end. However, there are captains who will define their teams by helping what the team can do and go forward. Like supposing you had Mashrafi Murtaza of Bangladesh, he was a good captain. That's okay. That didn't wasn't the reason Bangladesh started doing well. But as captain, he made sure that the pitches in Bangladesh were better. They weren't those spin tracks that they were or are sometimes. He tried to make pitches that helped fast bowlers. As you can remember, the Asia Cup 2016 that everybody fondly remembers, Amir Spell. Why that was in Bangladesh, and why were the wickets so assistive to fast bowlers? It's because Mashrafi in that whole time requested that wickets be assisted to fast bowlers so that Bangladesh can develop fast bowlers of their own. Similarly, Kohli in his Test captaincy era emphasized on fitness and on fast bowlers. Okay, we have to make fast bowlers so that we can be more successful abroad because we're already successful at home, but by being successful abroad, we need fast bowlers. So it's like there are captains, and then there the countless Imran Khan examples. There are captains who will define their teams by putting in the work to build their teams to be better teams, and that then they're influencing whether the players become better bowlers and better
Yeah.
batsmen, and that's where actual games are changed because as
Yeah.
we can see, batting and bowling changes games.
Yeah.
So if those captains work on those aspects of the game and are actively influencing those aspects of the game off the field,
Yeah.
then that is what is actually going to influence the game to that extent that you can say that okay, this guy is a great captain,
Yeah.
that because he's actually because on the field it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
like I said, good captain, bad captain, 2%, 3% difference. But if the guy as captain manages to implement changes that actually define teams and improve their batting and bowling, then that is actually actively influencing games.
Yeah.
That is what Pakistan would have wanted from Babar because Babar had the power to make such changes if he if he so wished, because Babar was untouchable and is still probably untouchable. As far as whatever Babar wants, Babar usually gets. Shah will not have that extent of untouchability. He cannot request pitches. He can request, but whether his request is followed or not followed, he can't go to the coach and be like, "Hey, I want this fast bowler to play because I really like him, and I feel he will influence the team to this extent." Because the coach will be like, "You averaging 30, score some runs, and then we'll see whether I listen to you or not." Because
Yeah.
Barber could have said, "Hey, I want
Yeah.
this guy to play," and they would have to play that guy, as we've
Yeah.
seen. But so that's what a strong captain does, and that's what
Yeah.
a strong captain, how a strong captain can influence games, and that is why people were like for a long time. I wanted Barber to stay captain because he could hypothetically do with his power what he wished, but that's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
And now with Shan as captain, Shan is not going to do that. Shaheen may be able to do that, but even he needs to make elevate himself to that level of untouchability in which he can do whatever he wishes. Then, so you first need the guy to be untouchable, and then you need the guy to actually know what he's doing. So and then you have to be the untouchability thing is very hard to get by, and then you once you've achieved the untouchability, then you have to really hope that the guy actually knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So when you get those two things, then you get what everybody actually wants from a captain.
Yeah.
But as you can see, I just listed like three, four examples in the last 30 years. So it's not great.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Pakistan cricket should stop looking for a messiah. Pakistan should stop looking for a messiah. But it's always, oh, one guy's going to come and fix all our problems.
Yeah.
So we're back to square one as usual
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
we
I
have.
mean, I think on a parting note, I just want to say one thing. I do think that we talked a lot about men's cricket. I want to talk a little bit of women's cricket before we go. If someone pays attention to what's been going on in women's cricket in the last few years, Bisma Maroof was vice captain and then she became captain. Yeah, fine, she was gone for a bit. I think एक दफा sinus की surgery करवानी थी और and one time she was gone for some family reason and maternity leave. So Javeria stepped in and so on. But she was vice captain, became captain. Nida was Bisma's vice captain. She became captain. Fatma Sana is vice captain. She took over captaincy when Nida was injured, and we assume she will take over captaincy properly soon. This seems like wow, like the system is working. Like wow, they're actually going from vice captain to captain, which is how things should be. That's why people were upset that Shadab didn't get captain and so on and so forth. That Rizwan didn't get captain in Test cricket. There's obviously, like you said, that you explained why Rizwan didn't get it, and with Shadab, it's because he was also kind of scapegoated after the ODI World Cup. Or maybe scapegoated is the wrong thing because Shadab did mess up. But anyways, the point is that it's funny that it works in women's cricket. I just wanted to say that. But the thing is, it's not because they're doing it on purpose. It's because they don't care enough for anyone to interfere. So like there's no media pressure, there's no like no one paying attention to performances or anything of the sort. They just they made captain. I believe Bisma Maroof had some sort of a say in Fatma Sana becoming vice captain, which I love that for her. My point is this, that when you're not interfering, when the PCB is not interfering, when the media is not interfering, things sort of try to work out sometimes. Not that I'm advocating for the people not interfering, but I feel like they should maybe do some introspection, maybe have some kind of like a retrospective, like are we the bad guys? Maybe like are we messing up here? Like are things fine when we're not that involved? Um and then rethink their kind of involvement and rethink how they should be running things. Um Again, I'm not saying that don't be involved. I'm saying rethink how you are involved. It would be nice if you were more involved in women's cricket. but yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for joining us for this really entertaining and hopefully not upsetting episode on
We
captaincy.
just rambled.
Yeah, I think it was fun though. I really hope that you guys found something, learned something new. And if you disagree with something or if you agree with something, as always, leave a comment. We would love to hear your argument or your take on this. But yeah, it's off the cuff is supposed to be ranty. It's supposed to be rambly. It's supposed to be opinionated. So Ryan and I brought our no filter selves today. So don't hate us, please. We're just doing our job. But yeah, thank you for joining in. Thank you, Ryan, for coming here, and have a good day, everyone.